Hi guys, so not so long ago I did a video on tips for first year student nurses, and after I posted it I started to think up of more tips that might be useful for second years, because obviously any tips can be helpful throughout any year of your degree, no matter whether you're first, third, second. Any of them can be helpful at any point during your degree. First up, what I would say is second year starts to become a lot more complex, and something I found that really helped was after each lecture I actually went back over my notes or read a little bit more around the subject, or read like articles that my lecturers had put up, and that really helped with particularly hard stuff or things that were difficult to kind of get my head around, or particularly complex things. One thing that really I've kind of always naturally done since first year, but try and sit up front. I know it sounds weird or maybe a bit geeky, but I found if I sit up front I'm less likely to go on my phone, maybe go on something I shouldn't on my laptop. You're less likely to, because you're more likely to be seen by lecturers. They are more likely to catch you if you're on your phone texting or whatever. So you're more likely to pay attention to the actual lecture. Another tip, I in second year got stressed quite a lot. It's quite natural. Stress is something everyone deals with, but it's how you deal with stress. And one thing that was super helpful to me is that when there were periods when I just had enough, it had just gotten too much. This can apply to when you have stressful days in placement as well, but just go outside, get out of that environment. So for instance, if I am stressed out at home doing an essay or whatever, I will get my dog and go for a walk. I will get out the house for half an hour. If I've had a particularly stressful day on placement, I will take my lunch, go sit outside somewhere for 20 minutes or whatever, however long my break is, but I will get out of that stressful environment, and it kind of takes your mind off it a bit, which helps, and the fresh air helps a ton. This one, I did do this tip for first years, but it's one of them it's worth repeating for every year, is to stay organised. However it works for you, however you find it best to stay organised, whether it's through your phone, a physical calendar that's on your wall, or one that you take with you like a personal calendar, just do it. Stay organised and you will thank me for it, believe me. Volunteer. Now, I say volunteer within limits. Do not say yes to everything. You will wear yourself out. I used to be one of them people, particularly with work. I used to say yes to everything. If a manager wanted me to do an extra shift, I'd say yes. If they wanted me to stay an extra 2 hours, I'd say yes. There was a period when I worked in retail where I worked a 12-hour shift because we were short, and that's not natural in retail. A normal shift is 8 hours, and I don't think I've ever seen anyone beyond maybe 8 or 10 hours. So yes, I was one of them people that said yes to everything. But volunteer for good experiences. So for instance, I have volunteered a lot in uni to help out with open days and interview days, which looks really good from my point of view for interviews, because a lot of it is leadership, particularly our interview days. The students kind of herd the interviewees into the right areas and keep the day on a flow and like organised, and everyone's going in at the right times. So that is super helpful for me. But if you feel like whatever it is you've been asked to volunteer for, or if, say for instance, a lecturer is asking a whole cohort of you guys, I need 10 volunteers for this, if it's not beneficial to you, don't say yes just because you think that's what they want to hear. Just don't say anything, or just tell them you can't at the moment, or you don't think it's right for you. Just tell them the truth, but don't like push yourself too far for it. Another super useful one, particularly for second year, is to know the best way you learn. So for instance, if you learn by writing things out 20 times, do that. If you learn by watching videos on something or watching PowerPoint presentations, do it that way. Or if you learn by listening to someone like saying it, do it that way. Record all your lectures and play them back. If you learn the best way that you learn new topics, hard topics, whatever, you will honestly do so much better. Your work will be done quicker, your revision will be easier and quicker. You won't spend hours and hours and hours going over the same stuff because you're trying to be something that's not accessible for you. That makes sense. I always kind of think you're trying to be something you're not. And if you are a visual learner and you learn things by seeing, and you think, oh well, so and so writes things down 20 million times and she gets straight A's, that's what works for her, I'm going to do that. You could completely bomb out because it doesn't work for you. It's not accessible for your brain. Your brain knows the way it learns things best, and I'm sorry, but you're going to have to go with it. Before you start on placement, make yourself a plan. Whatever it is, kind of going with like a plan, so you'll have your documentation beforehand. So kind of look at it, read up about your area and decide, okay, I know I'm going to a cardiology ward, but I want to go on like little visits to X, Y and Z, or I want to learn to have done subcutaneous injections by the end of the day if you're on a long day. Like realistic things like I want to learn how to do an S-bar handover by the end of the day and accomplish those goals. But make yourself a plan, particularly if you're going to be on placement and doing assignments like at the same time, because it's really quite hard to do them both together, because you will be on placement for 14-hour days and then you'll need to get home and do work or do work on your days off, and there will be times when you're just like, I don't want to work, I want to have a day off. So it's about having that balance and making those plans. Make sure with your university work or anything in university or placement, if you don't understand something, get help. If you're talking to a patient and they ask you a question that you don't know, or they ask you about a subject you don't, ask for help. It's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of improving yourself, and it's a sign of knowing your own areas of deficiency. It's not a weakness, it's an area of a deficiency. So go get help. If you live quite a distance from where you've got to travel for placement, do a kind of little pre-placement run. A lot of my cohort do this, but we, instead of ringing up for our off-duty over the phone, we will actually go and visit them. We will see exactly how long it takes in real time to get there. You can learn which buses you need to get, which trains you need to get, and you actually get to meet some of the staff. A lot of placements I've been to, when I've actually gone in person to get my off-duty, they've then shown me around the ward. They've like given me forms for an ID badge. They've organised which day I can go on like an introductory, trust induction. Learn from your mistakes and also trust your nursing gut. And now I will say this together because you may think, hold on, something's going on here. Something is not right. Trust your gut and go to someone. Ask for help from someone or ask for advice. And if you don't and something goes wrong or you make a mistake, learn from those mistakes. We as nurses are continually reflecting on things we've done. We're reflecting on practices, past experiences. So learn from those mistakes. Write yourself a reflection. Continually, I know it sounds silly, but even as a student, be thinking about your revalidation, and you have to do them. I think it's every 3 years you have to do it. So you're continually revalidating your nursing career. And most of all, you are in your second year. It's one of those kind of meh years. You either it either feels like it's going super slow, or you kind of hit that slump. And it is a legit thing. There is the second year slump. But out of everything I tell you, just take care of you. There's nothing more important than take care of yourself, your safety and your well-being. Otherwise there's no point you going into placement. There's no point you going into lectures, because you're learning to take care of someone else, their health, their safety, their well-being. And if you can't do that for yourself, what use are you really? But I hope these tips were somewhat helpful for you guys. If you have any other tips, then leave them below for me. I'd love to see what you guys have kind of come up with. But that is absolutely everything, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Bye guys!